Hi, Drew. Air Force enters this game ranked 129th in scoring defense, 131 in pass defense in the country. I know on paper that may look favorable for this offense, but why do you think this matchup could still serve as a challenge when it comes to execution and consistency?
Well, first of all, you can throw all that stuff out the window. When I watch them on defense now, they've played some really good offenses, and they're a little bit young in the secondary, so people have thrown the football on them. I think they match our style. I'm sure they're probably a little more comfortable playing our style. Um, when I see them up front, I mean, they got probably the best interior defensive lineman that we've played all season. 96, I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce his last name, but uh, that kid's a
The
dude.
nose guard, right? The nose guard.
Yeah, nose guard, yeah. He's a really good football player. He's been a really good football player for a while for him. I think he's one of their guys that got a fifth year. So I'm not sure about that, but he's a good football player. Um, I see 95, the defensive end, Grove. He's a 6'7" kid, long, played last year. I like him up front. Linebackers are typical Air Force linebackers, just physical, typical Service Academy guys. Um, they're a little younger in the secondary, but you can see they're talented. They're gonna get better every week. It's you can throw all that other stuff out the window. And they're really good on offense, right? So, um, we it's going to be a complimentary football kind of day. We got to move the ball and possess the ball and put points on the board, and we can't we can't have 400, like we did last week. We can't have them 460 yards or whatever it was of offense and only coming away with 21 points isn't good enough. It's going to be a great challenge, one that I'm looking forward to. I'm sure they are too. It's a lot of fun. First leg of the CIC, great crowd. It's going to be a heck of a deal.
What are the biggest things you're telling this unit as it relates to avoiding pre-snap penalties, especially with all the catalysts they have up front? You don't want to face those third and longs early in drives.
Yeah, that's not something that has been an issue till this past game, which was we got to be more disciplined. We had some when I think through it. One of the guys that got one of the penalties was Heater, and he hasn't played a lot. So just young guy in there wanting to get off the ball and low, and just was a little too eager, and uh, there was some moments of undiscipline, and there's a lot of reasons those things happen. The quarterback, I think, Blake kind of took ownership in the last one. Just he was trying to get something communicated, and realized the clock was going down. So it's 11 guys have all got to be on the same page, and we've got to have good rhythm. And it has not been a problem, and I don't expect it to be a problem this weekend. But at the same time, we have addressed it very adamantly. Is that a word? And we hope that we can't beat ourselves. That's tough to overcome. And the thing is, we overcame several of those penalties in the game. Three holding calls and four false starts. And whether I didn't think they were egregious holdings, but they called them, and we got to do a better job keeping our hands tight. And so those things we overcame a couple of them, but then they hurt us on some other opportunities.
This team has developed a lot of success in the run game so far, almost 20 rushing touchdowns. How do you balance leaning into that strength while keeping the offense versatile against an Air Force defense that, like you said, has struggled, but it doesn't look that way as it relates to the film?
Yeah, I think we try to take what the defense has given us, okay, and so that has honestly been more running the football than I was expecting maybe this year. Um, but it's due to some good reasons. I think that like Rice's secondary was very um, careful about flying up, especially at safety, and they were very disciplined. So same thing with Tulsa. They were the safeties were just a little bit, safeties don't run up as fast as they did 3 years ago or 2 years ago, and so I gotta be patient enough to, because I'm itching to throw the ball some too, and be try to be a little more balanced but we also got to hit those we missed a couple that we probably should have hit. Then we made some dang good throws and catches on a couple other ones. So maybe that evened itself out, but we've got to do a good job throwing the ball. Um, and get our playmakers the ball in space a little bit and give them a chance to break some tackles and put a little pressure on that secondary.
Thanks, Drew.
Nose guard is a fifth-year player. You were correct. Tim Nolan.
Coach, a lot of shifting on the offensive line against Rice to get their keys out of whack. How impressed were you with the way that that unit was able to shuffle right before the snap and do so efficiently?
As far as some of our movements, talking about the
Yes,
moving
sir.
the lineman around. Yeah, I mean that's something we do. And then of course we had different. We played more guys than we normally. I think we played 8 guys up front this week, and so we played more guys than we normally do. But they handled all that, I think, fairly well. Because there's a lot of moving pieces out there. You got guys jumping around, then you got a defense that's stemming, so there's a lot going on. But I thought we handled it okay.
What was your first impression of coaching your first CIC game last year?
Yeah, it was really a great experience. Going out to Air Force, beautiful place out there. It was a beautiful day. I remember it just being really sunny. We had an early kickoff. It was a 10 a.m. kickoff there, I guess, which is a noon kickoff here. Um, and it was a great crowd and the intensity of the game. It just the how much it means to the players on both teams. Um, the tradition of it is just special. I don't think there's anything else like playing Air Force and playing Army. Uh, and I think that it's important in college football, right? I think people watch it, they care about it, um the service academies mean something to the regular guy out there, right? The regular people watching the game and they follow it and they appreciate the young people that are playing in it, so uh it's always great to be able to sing second in those situations um and celebrate in the locker room after that. But it's a hard fought deal and it's fun and you gotta do a good job in the chess match and then your players got to go execute. And I'm always really impressed with both Army and Air Force, but watching Air Force Live, they do a great job. Their staff does a great job schematically, giving their guys a great opportunity to be successful, which is what we all pride ourselves on at the service academies is we have good, tough, smart kids, and so they can handle a lot, and they do. Our guys try everything they can to execute what you're asking them to execute. So uh, it's a special deal. It's fun to be a part of that, even more than I knew it would be, but even more than I originally thought.
Against Rice, Blake stepping up the pocket, he hits Eli for a first down. He also had the rollout and the long connection with Hutchison. How pleased are you with the way that the passing game has progressed through 4 games?
Yeah, I like it when we hit them. I like it when we hit the throws. So yeah, so far so good. I think we can be better. Um, but we've certainly been productive, and we're going to have to be productive Saturday.
Thank you.
Wyckoff.
Coach, what's it like for you knowing that you're game planning and you're going to be calling plays against a defense that's really focused and honed in on what you do and how you do it?
Yeah, you got to be. They're smart kids. You can't just show them the same old thing. Because they're going to be coached up on it and they're going to have studied it up and so you want to make sure that even in your base things, maybe that it looks maybe a little different, but then you still got to go be able to run your base stuff and but it's trying to keep them off balance, trying to take advantage of how disciplined they are, right? Sometimes if you know that guy's going to squeeze like he's supposed to, then you know how to scheme it, or this guy's going to fit like this. And so but you're not gonna, you show them the same game plan you showed Rice, they're going to be coached up on it. And so you gotta mix it up and try to keep them on their heels and try to hopefully take advantage of how disciplined they are, so it's a great challenge because they do such a great job coaching and scheming and being disciplined and then playing physical and with great effort on top of that.
I know you've probably seen this throughout the years with your watching these service academy games. Oftentimes these games flip on one play. How important is it that the guys are patient, that they keep after it and keep that away from happening?
Yeah, I mean, I think historically these games have generally been low scoring as well. So you're trying to, you're trying to. I think it's the team that plays the hardest, executes at the highest level, and makes the fewest mistakes, right? So you're trying to do all those things at the same time, and you want to be not careful, but you want to make sure you don't. I've got to be careful and patient as a play caller. Our players have just got to keep playing and keep executing. It's you can't win it on the first drive, but you also got to understand that you can lose it. If you go out there and you put the ball on the ground or it, and when you have a chance to make a play, you can't leave that out there on the field either. You gotta finish. If it's a long pass, you got to make the reception or make the block, whatever it is. You got a chance, an opportunity to have a big play. You got to make sure that the gun fires, at that time. So, um, it's a 60-minute game. I know it's cliche, but when you go back and look at a football game, generally there's about 5 or 6 plays in the game that really make the difference, and you don't know when they're going to happen, right? You just don't know, and so obviously you got to treat every play, like it's going to win the game or lose the game, and you got to execute, and that's what we're going to try to do.
What was the debriefing after your first service academy game last year with your dad when you were able to talk with him about what it was like?
Um, my dad had a great. He was out there. He was out in Colorado for the game. And he had gotten on to me the day before because he came to practice. And he watches every practice. Like he's got our huddle 360, so he's watching everything. But we go out there and he watches practice. And I don't know if you remember the last touchdown that Alex scored on was a little fake jet sweep, kind of toss out the back door, a little, just a, kind of a little counter play. And he saw us running that out there, and he ran that. That's one of his plays, and he ran in high school, and he would always pull a guard out in front of it. And we went back and forth. He said, "Son, y'all not gonna pull the guard?" Because we were having everybody just go the other way, trying to get everybody to bite in and then get on the edge. And I said, "No, we talked about it." He said, "Son, that's not." He said, "That ain't gonna work. You got to you're not doing it right." And I said, "Well, okay." And then we scored on it. And after the game, I think it's the first time in my life I heard, "Son, I guess you were right." So, so yeah, usually he's right, but but it's playful. It's all playful, but it means so much to him for our family to be here and be a part of this tradition and what we're getting to do. He takes a lot of pride in that, and it means a lot to him, and he's very proud. But he also, I'll have a phone conversation once in a while that why are we doing that, or we got to get this guy coached up on this, and I'm like, yeah, Dad, we'll get it fixed. So
Will he be here on Saturday?
he will. He will. He's in town right now. He was at the Rice game, and he and Miss Ann are here together, and they're actually staying in an Airbnb right across the water from this window I'm looking out of, and they're living the dream. They're going and doing stuff, taking boat rides and touring and having a big time.
It's awesome. Wags.
Drew, I know this isn't your job, but have you seen tape of Air Force's offense from this season?
I have. I'm always looking at different people, trying to pick up ideas, and especially people who might be similar to you, and they do a fantastic job.
Well, I was going to say, do you see some new elements they've added that look very familiar?
One or two things, but there's things we all steal from each other. I mean, when I was at Furman in 2017, I worked for Coach Clay Hendricks, who had been at Air Force for 10 years as their O-line coach. And so it's all everybody, there's nothing really new anymore. I mean, we took a lot of things they did back then. And so some of the things that we're doing, they're doing it as well now. But it's things they've done before as well. So, they do a fantastic job, and I'm always looking at, there's different people I look at that I think do some things that might match up with us, like them or, Georgia Tech or Vanderbilt. You're looking at it, at Army, whoever, you're looking at those folks that maybe do some things that might fit what you do and see what they're doing. And sometimes you might find one thing or two things, and we're all in college football now with the way everybody can see everybody's video. Um, Everybody, you'll see somebody score on a certain play, and then the next week you'll see another team run the exact same play. It's just kind of that way in college football.
Well, I had Mike James from the Navy Football Radio Network on the Anchors Away podcast, and he was of the mind that the Air Force has copied a lot of your offense, and this is new this year.
There's some similarities for sure. But they looked at their personnel, and their quarterback is playing really well, and they're doing a great job with it. They're scoring a lot of points, whatever works, man. That's kind of how we all are. But there's some things that I've looked at and go, oh wow, well, I appreciate, I guess imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. So, but don't worry, I'll be imitating them some too. So, they do an outstanding job, outstanding. And with all of us being at service academies, you're going to see some different things float around from each service academy to the other. So, they do a great job.
What can you say about Alex Tecza? He's having a really good season. He's breaking long runs almost every game. I think he's been over 200 now, twice in the span of a couple of weeks. I think he's playing his best football. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think he's doing a really good job. He's really understanding what we're doing. He's blocking well. He's been explosive. I'm sure he would tell you we got to get him once people swipe at his heels, we got to get him to pick his feet up a little bit there on a couple of those runs and finish them off right there. But he's a good football player. Glad he was on our team. And he's done a fantastic job, and you can get him the ball. He had 2 catches the other day, and but you want to find ways to get him the ball. He can run between the tackle. He can get on the edge, and he's really taken pride in being a really good blocker as well.
We'll make another trip around. We'll do 2 questions each this time. Make sure everyone gets more in. Why Kopelman?
Drew, we just heard from Blake how tight ends are targeted more often in this year's offense compared to the last year. And I know year two in any offensive system tends to involve some level of refinement and identity. How would you assess the progression of your system at Navy so far, and what does year two look like in terms of taking it to the next level?
Just where we are offensively. I know, did you mention tight ends there or what?
Yeah. I mean, just the involvement of tight ends too.
Yep. It's been a little probably with our tight end position. We probably expected them to be a little more involved so far, but when Cody's been out, and Cody's such a versatile player, but we've had some guys step up. Jake has done a great job. Jake fits our style of play. He's physical and hard nosed and tough. And then Theo's gotten out there and done some good things. And even Will's been out there, a few plays here and there. So we've kind of had to, with Cody being out like he has the last couple of weeks, you're trying to do what your team does well. And obviously Cody brings another element to it. So that's something we want to continue moving forward for the tight ends to be a weapon. But being a dual threat guy as a blocker and as a receiver, and we're going to keep trying to head in that direction.
How has Blake's efficiency and growth at quarterback helped bring out the best in this system with the start this offense has had this year?
Well, Blake really understands what we're doing, and he'll be the first to tell you that he can still improve. But he understands what we're doing. The other players have a lot of confidence in him, and he makes plays. He has an ability to pick you up a first down on 3rd and 12, right? And he's done that a few times this year, right, to keep us on the field. And but he can also throw an in cut in there to Eli on 3rd and long. He can run between the tackles. He's got the speed to get on the edge, and he just has a great understanding of what we're trying to get accomplished. Very, very intelligent young man, but also very high football IQ. And then leadership. He's special, okay, and he's playing at a high level. But I think there's more there. I think he can continue to improve with his consistency. Every once in a while, the ball gets away from him throwing, but then he makes some unbelievable throws, right? So I think just continuing to be consistent in the passing game is probably the biggest area. But man, he's for what we do. He fits very, very well. And you'd love to sign a Blake Horvath, in every class if you can figure that part out. And I think Braxton fits what we do as well. Braxton's going to have to help us this at some point. Braxton's going to help us win a game, right? So I feel really good about, those two young men.
Good luck this week, Drew.
Thank you.
Wags. Wags. Caught him off guard. Wyckoff.
Yeah, Coach, I guess it's a two-edged sword with Blake when he makes a run like he did and tries to chuck that guy in the sidelines. His teammates rise to the occasion and get fired up for it. But I would imagine also from up high, you're cringing when he does that.
Yeah, there's a time to be uh physical and a time to be smart. I didn't think that was the time to be physical. I don't think he gained anything by it. Now, if it's 4th down and you're fighting for the stick, sometimes you got to do that. I think we need to get on out of bounds right there. And I communicated that with him. But he's a tough kid, right? But he takes enough hits during a game to where when he's in that situation, he doesn't need to take one more, so need to get on out of bounds right there or make him miss and stay in bounds. But I know he was out there competing.
I know when you're in a situation like that, Alex Tecza seems like he's the type of guy who knows when to duck out of bounds. I saw that one time during the game against Rice where he knew it was over and just kind of stepped.
Right. Yeah, there's a time, like I said, there's a time to fight for yardage, and then there's a time where, you're not going to gain anything extra, right? So I like for our running backs to stay in bounds as long as they can and be more physical. With our quarterbacks, my opinion's a little different. Or it's not the same as it is for everybody else. But yeah, there's be smart, get what you can, be smart, be physical when you have to on the sideline, and then when there's nothing there, you get on out of bounds. And he did the right thing there right before the half, with the pass. Just he got what he could, and then he got out of bounds to stop the clock, and he knew how much time there was, right? So that was a heads up play.
Thanks.
Tim Nolan.
Coach, with your father's experience in the Navy, getting to play for the Air Base team in Okinawa, growing up, who would he side with in these service academy battles?
Yeah, he was in the Army. He played for the Army Gunners in Okinawa, but he right now, yeah, he's it's Navy all the way. But yeah, he did serve. Yep, he did.
Right. I was wondering when you were growing up, because of that, did he had to be, was it ever in the household, Army or Air Force or Navy? Had that, who would he pick?
We just enjoyed watching those games. I'm probably at the time, maybe because of his Army background, he leaned towards Army, but we just enjoyed the game, every year. And now to be a part of that is really cool. But that's kind of how it was. But it was going to be on the TV. We were going to be watching it, and if we had our own game, of course, when I was at home, obviously we played on Fridays, but when I was still at home, but now before I came here, if we had a game at Mercer or whatever, we were, whenever I got home, we were watching the what do you call it now? It used to be called TV, watching the recording of it. So I guess you can't TiVo, that doesn't exist anymore, does it? So
DVR.
yeah. So, yep.
And does this CIC meeting with Air Force mean a little extra to you, given it's your first with Eli?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It, Eli's on the sideline wearing his bucket hat with all his buddies, cheering and having a good time. Um, I'm just proud to have Eli here and for him to have chosen to do this. And I think he's doing well, it's a great challenge for all our midshipmen just to do all the things they have to do. And proud of him, and I'm glad he's close by. I'm glad I get to see him every day. So that part we're enjoying a lot.
Thank you.
Wags.
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to pull double duty and participate in the Troy Calhoun presser as well. Sorry.
No
You picking
problem.
up anything on that? You glean any information over there?
Troy is very close to the vest.
Yep.
He rarely answers a question straight the straight answer. He's like you, Drew.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a fan send me an email, maybe one because they watch all these press conferences. Maybe one day Coach Cronic will tell you something that you asked.
I'll tell you everything that happened in the game we just played.
Well, on that note, how did you think Cam Nichols did? Coach Newberry said he was on a snap count. Does that come off this week? How did you feel Cam performed?
Yeah, I felt good considering everything, and every day he's going to get better, and he's going to be able to put more on his plate, and we'll kind of just see how it goes Saturday. Obviously, it's not just bouncing back for the injury; it's also bouncing back just from missing all those practices and the fitness that goes with it, and just the movement skills and all the things you're doing. You got to, get your body back into football shape and being able to take the pounding and all that. So. But I felt really good about Cam and really good about his workload increasing as we go forward. It's good to have him out there.
So obviously, last season was the first time Air Force had seen your version of offense, and as mentioned, they're now have incorporated some of those elements. Do you think the combination of the two, having now had a full season to dissect your offense, and the fact that they're now running some of these things in practice in their defense season will enable them to defend you better?
Well, I think the more everybody sees us, I think the more they, you can't just hide everything, and so but also on the other hand, if they're similar to us, then maybe that helps our defense some. I don't know because they get to see us, a lot during August and spring practice. So, you know what I'm saying? So maybe it helps our defense. So I think the more people see us, the better job they'll do defending. There's more information out there. They see other people defend us. And so obviously we want to stay creative. We want to mix it up and try to stay one step ahead. And then there's some things maybe you hadn't done for a few weeks that you go back to, so all that's part of it. Um, but I would agree with you that the more they see us and maybe the fact that they go against something similar more often, it helps them, probably defend certain things better. So, but it goes down to execution, and I think we do it. We have enough versatility to where, hopefully we can, game plan and pick the right things and show the right things and keep them off balance. And that's the chess match, right? That's what you're trying to get accomplished. But they had, last year they had seen, I guess, what about 4 games leading up to that. Um, so now they've got what did we play 13 last year and 4, so they've got 17 game selection. So it's more information out there.
One last question for me real quick. I've been asking you about the jet sweep and how effective it is and what a great play it is. You went to it on a critical 4th down.
Yeah.
And
didn't look good then, did it?
Well, two defenders came free. What happened on that play? It just poorly blocked.
It was a tough there were tough blocks to execute on it. So I probably should have called something differently. And I think we may have tried to do too much on the perimeter. We had enough to get it done, and I think we probably tried to overreach some of it. And what happened then is when 2 guys try to get the wider guy, we didn't get either one of them. They all needed to get one guy to the inside. So, that's something I probably didn't do a good enough job of showing them in practice, and I probably could have picked a little better play in that situation. So, and then they did a good job defending it right there. It's all those things at once, but it was disappointing. That one kept me up Saturday night because I think that was a huge play in the game. I think if we can get that first down and go on and get some points out of that, that really makes a huge difference in the game. I felt like we left some points out there the first half, and that certainly was an opportunity we had to stay on the field.
All right, I should wrap it up. Thanks a lot, Coach Cronic.
Yep.
We'll be back tomorrow. We got Landon Robinson at 11 a.m. and Coach Volker at 2 p.m.
All right. Thank y'all.